This is Dr. Abraham with former Governor M.M. Jacob, former minister serving with Rajiv Gandhi administration and P.V. Narasimha Rao administration in the capacity as Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs as well as Minister of State for Home Affairs. And later, Sri M.M. Jacob became Governor of Meghalaya over a decade. So, Governor Jacob inaugurated the first GOPIO chapter in Uzhavoor, Kerala. Governor Jacob, welcome to this video taping. Would like to say something about GOPIO?
Yeah. Ever since I got associated with the GOPIO in the early years of its starting in the United States, I had the good fortune of associating with the GOPIO movement as well as the then founder who was actively behind it, Dr. Thomas Abraham. I found it as a thought-provoking organization for every Indian, people of Indian origin who are living in various continents and countries in the world. This may be a forum where they can channelize their thoughts and highlight it in the areas where it should be highlighted. For example, either in the respective governments, Government of India, and also the United Nations organization when requirement comes. So I had appreciation of the activities which they are doing, especially when the Fiji crisis came and the Fiji Indians were all disappointed about power losing after election, just as in Bangladesh, once it happened. And power is democratically assuming in a particular context. If somebody is not able to appreciate the democratic process and then immediately jump into military rules, people's attitudes in this part of the world is against such regimes. That is what happened in Bangladesh when Mujibur Rahman was elected. Awami League Party was elected with a majority, even to rule Pakistan. Then Bhutto, at that time, in the West Pakistan, he decided the army must go and finish off Mujibur Rahman's rule. That way, it was all frustrated, and finally Mujibur Rahman was liquidated. Same way, you find in Fiji, Indians duly got elected, and majority of them occupying highest positions. Later, you find the atmosphere suddenly changed, a military rule took over, the locals took over, and the Indians out. That was a period when GOPIO played a very key role in augmenting the resources of the Government of India, conducting an international conference in Switzerland, and then going ahead with it. So a productive, useful role played by GOPIO at the appropriate time also lead for the Government of India to think in terms of expanding the horizon to overseas Indians. Otherwise, we were concerned only about our people in the country. Occasionally, we meet outside Indians coming from outside, but we never focused on them. This is an area where provoked thought by the Government of India to think about the overseas Indians.
Sri Governor Jacob, we would like to hear something more about your thoughts on India's economic development. Would you please share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when India got independence, it was a very, very disastrous period. Our food shortage was terrible in this country. We relied on import of foodstuffs at one stage because we were under the British government. In the Second World War, situations changed, and it was very difficult for us to get the rice from Burma and other areas, which you used to get in this part. And production also was not very high in India. But this situation all changed after the independence of India, suddenly irrigation system improved and food materials improved, and Punjab started producing after the Bakra-Nangal irrigation system and the revolution of wheat revolution. We call it Green Revolution. India became, in a way, gradually increasing the production of food grains, both wheat and rice. Now India is sufficient, self-sufficient in food grains. That is a gradual, step-by-step growth. Same way, education. We were having largest illiterate people in the continent, India. There also, I don't think that we have succeeded in the providing literacy to everyone, though the attempts are there. Some states have achieved, for example, Kerala, Mizoram, and some states like this, or even Delhi, achieved 10% literacy. But there are other parts where even 50% literacy is not there. Same way we have a problem of infant mortality. Infant mortality is a curse all over India because medical aid system are not in the villages. So the old pattern of childbirth and all that make many people die, many children die, even mothers die. This situation is also gradually changing. Kerala is one of the topmost states in India where infant mortality is less. And there are also very few states reaching up to that stage, not even that, nearer that. So I think economic development and social development were lacking to a great extent. Now I find that economic development is coming up and people have an awareness of production to help consumption. Anyway, I don't want to tell details about it. Overall picture is, now India is on the right track. We focused on economic development and that is going on. But unfortunate part is, even Jawaharlal Nehru, I worked with Jawaharlal Nehru when I was young. I got inspiration from him. And he made me to travel to many countries in the world under various schemes, youth programs. So I could see his vision. He started regional laboratories in India for research. 22 national laboratories started not in one place, in different parts of India. A food institute or research institute for chemical research or physical research, everything is distributed in various parts. So that was one major achievement at that time. Foundations were well laid on the research-oriented outlook. Later on, many people come out and education expansion. Then simultaneously, you find we were short in steel and iron and steel. So fortunately, Jawaharlal Nehru could visualize that shortage, and then his government went to Soviet Union, went to Britain, went to America, requested all of them to start steel mill in India. Everybody backed out. So finally, his government could realize there is according to the Second World War Treaty, Germany cannot produce steel in their own country and export it. That was one of the clauses of the treaty. So our fellows went to Germany and asked them, why not you start a factory, steel mill in India? Steel mill in India. So the steel mill was negotiated with Germany and they immediately agreed for a steel mill in India. Similarly, when Germany came to India with a steel mill offer, suddenly Britain said, we will also open a steel mill there. Then Soviet Union said, no, we are also ready. So with one stroke, 3 steel mill production programs were started in the country. Core sectors were planned. So like that, we had a well thought out systematic development. And he also believed the economy must be a mixed economy, not in the state sector, not in the private sector alone, major areas must be private sector, where state sector, where private people cannot come in. More investments are required, that goes to the public sector. Other areas where people can manage base resources, it left to the private sector. So that way, the economy is on a marching ahead, I must say, marching ahead.
Thank you.
What we neglected was vast areas of the majority people living in the rural, tribal and distant areas. Though Government of India first issued a circular to all the states, there should be land ceiling for every state. Land shall not be occupied by some rich people alone. It must, every tiller of the land must get an opportunity to have his land. That land policy, though Planning Commission issues notification and all that, some states miserably failed to adhere to that. They had the problem. Andhra failed, Tamil Nadu failed, many states failed in introducing the land bills immediately. Kerala, Bengal, others, some other states succeeded in that. Bihar failed, UP failed. Many states did not implement that land ceiling area. So the have-nots became so much affected by without any land, without any work, poverty increased in that area. Some areas richness comes, but majority areas poverty came. So now we are in between poverty and richness. This is a crisis in India.
Okay. We have few more minutes. Can you share some thoughts about the terrorism, increasing terrorism in India? You have been a Minister of Home, Minister of State for Home, and you have a lot of experience, and also you are a governor of Meghalaya. Please share thoughts about the terrorism, briefly.
I find wherever you are neglecting the people got frustrated and agitation starts out of that. So first it was Andhra Pradesh, where land was not available. Then the Naxalbari group of system revolution came, and government will have to go with the army and police to suppress it. Same way in Bengal, again Naxalbari area, and many areas like this are affected. Now today what happened, all the tribal areas where I in the northeast, the tribals, they didn't have the economic facilities, they didn't have the roads, they didn't have schools, they didn't have hospitals, they didn't have basic facilities. So it was enough room for people. Even in Dandagaranya or any other place, you find the problem of difficulties made people take to any means to get out of the situation. Unfortunately, they resorted to violence and terrorism as a means to get out of the situation, which was not true.
So any more details, any suggestion? We have 1 more minute to your conclusion on the terrorism thing.
Actually, you are not having a friendly neighbor who can help you. On the contrary, I am talking about China. Their interest is always to see that Maoist groups are flourishing in the land with a sort of guerrilla war started in various places. If there is time, I can give enough instances where it is linked with Chinese interest, this kind of Mao group's activities. The first Nagaland even resurrection in Fiso's time, they sent the volunteers to Yan'an province in China, in Mao's same place, got trained in guerrilla war, and they came back. They have trained other militants in the northeast. So this is a real menace for Indian society, taking away people out of the peace to some other method of violence and terrorism.
Thank you, Governor Jacob, for sharing your thoughts, and have a wonderful day and wish you all the best.
Thank you.